Why would she consider something that's not benefiting her or her family or her agenda even? And I think that's how most of us should be. We should stop pretending to support things that don't represent us, don't support our agendas, and don't feed into what we're trying to create, whether it's a better world or just peace of mind, peace and love in your heart, or a new business, whatever it may be. You can't sit around feeding into energy that doesn't serve you well, whether it's sports, whether it's a certain type of food, a certain type of person. If it's not feeding you well and serving you well, it needs to be eliminated from your peace, your place, your space. So that's something to consider as well. And I think this was a good conversation to have. That's why I just wanted to bring it and say Candace Owens said what in reference to trans people in sports and how do they compete? Do they compete with everybody else? Is there going to be some type of liability protection for them and the people that they play against? Or do they just need a league of their own? What's your opinion on that? What you think about that? Do you think it matters? We know and are aware that there are physical differences between male and female. Someone could get hurt or worse if it's not monitored correctly, if the right things are not put in place, if this is even something that's feasible that could happen, or do we need to have a separate league for those type of sports? Now, you think about discrimination, you think about things that could cause people to be unable to perform and because of injuries on the field, off the field, things like that. How do you protect the sports company? How do you protect the venue? How do you protect each and individual that's participating in the sport, knowing that there are physical differences? Or do you really create an honest and true equal playing field? Like some sports, people would say, oh, that's an equal playing field. But how can you say that when men and women both have differences, physically, strength-wise, mentally? Nothing's the same. Even if they had some type of alterations, it's going to be differences naturally. Without hormone therapies or with them, it's still going to be natural differences. And people need to just stop trying to pretend that it's not. It is. And just because someone identifies as whatever way, that doesn't mean that the world will or does, in spite of what they may feel themselves. And that's just a fact. You know, you can ask somebody all day to call something that is not, but if they don't see it as that, that's like asking them to become mentally insane. And is that fair to anyone involved? Because someone else is insane, they want you to be insane as well. I won't say insane, I say mentally ill. That's what she called it, a mental illness. But is not a mental illness some form of insanity? That's another question I want to ask y'all. Does mental illness mean insanity? Or does it depend on the level of mental illness? Does it have to be a psychosis for it to be insanity? Can genius be insanity? These are all good questions. Can genius be insanity? Can you be a genius and insane? Is it possible? That's a good question. And if so, how is that possible? To be a genius and to be insane, to be an insane genius, to be ingenious. Yeah. What does it mean to be ingenious? That's a good question. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Battles Within Life podcast. I'm your host, Kishana Woods Lee. Our topic today was Candace Owens said what? There's some other things she said, but I did not have my clips. They got all mixed up and disembobulated and disapproved, but that's okay. We're going to continue on with the show in spite of the disappearing clips. And I promise you, I'll be more prepared on the next go round. But I want to thank you for tuning in. We thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing this podcast. Thank you for leaving your comments. Thank you for letting us know that you're there and you're supporting us by clicking that like button and by copying the link. And even if you don't share, you copy the link, we'll get paid too. So support our podcast. Make sure that we get paid by copying, sharing, like, and comment. We do appreciate your support. Once again, this is the Battles Within Life podcast. I'm your host, Kishana Woods-Lee. We want to thank our sponsor, Anchor, and our other sponsor, House of Woods Publishing Company, bringing you their new manuscript release on Amazon, Corona-Affected Pandemic USA, a timeline describing the events of the 2020 pandemic. We shall not forget. We shall not be forgotten. Let's not forget what happened. Let's not let them forget. Let's not let history be rewritten. Let's hold on and support this book. I want to thank you for your support. And before I go, I just want to touch bases on what we were talking about. Candace Owens made some comments about transgender in sports, and she was addressing how it's not fair for a man to be competing with a woman. In spite of what his mental issues are or what he thinks about himself, there are still biological differences, and that could be not a fair thing to happen. And as a feminist movement, people need to stand up for feminine rights. And feminine is woman. That's what she was saying. And she was saying not enough people have a spine to stand up for what is right. People go on with their little fantasy worlds and try to make like it's real, but it's not. And she has some valid points. But I also think she has some points that she didn't bring up or think about. Or maybe those are points that are irrelevant to her because, like I said, we as a people, we need to stop pushing agendas and getting into stuff that really does not serve us well or have anything to do with us. I brought this story because I am a woman, and so, yes, it does have something to do with me because I am a woman. However, I just wanted to bring up the point that when we're bringing these stories or we're making comments, sometimes we don't think about the full spectrums of the story. And like I said, this is a great business opportunity for someone to come up with a league for those who are misplaced and don't have sports places that would take them. So this is a great opportunity for somebody to start a league for them. And that would be something that I think would excel because anything that I see them put their minds to, they're successful. If it grows, it turns into millions of dollars. And that's if they want to make it successful. But if they make it up their minds that they want to be a part of what's already established, there's going to be a lot of legal stuff involved. So you have to think about those things. And you have to also think about the families involved, the people that's going to have hurt feelings throughout the process. Sometimes people are even going to get injured by trying to be that first person to open the door for others. So you have to really be careful going down certain avenues because certain avenues may lead to success while others may lead to self-destruction. So I just want to bring that to you, and I hope you like this segment of the Battles Within Life podcast. My name's Kishana Woods-Lee, your host. The title of this episode was Candace Owens Said What? So we want to thank you for tuning in, and we'll be happy to bring you more valuable content on days to come.